Welcome to the Modfix tutorial. I'm going to go over Modfix and how it works. If you're new to this and don't understand what's going on, or you're looking at this wall of text and getting overwhelmed, it's actually pretty straightforward. I'll go through all of that, and you can also do this stuff manually if you like. I'll show you how to do that if you want that information. Essentially, I've just put together a Windows command file that makes it a lot more simplistic. More intuitive and just much easier for everybody all around. Doesn't matter if you're real familiar with command line or you're a programmer or anything. It's just a time saver. Also, I find this method to be a better fix than, say, using a plugin, which, don't get me wrong, it's great. I do appreciate the plugins that have been made for the game so far, and I appreciate the author's work. I really do. But in this case, I just have to say I think this is the better fix overall, for a couple reasons. One, you don't need another plugin loading, less conflict, so less trouble with conflicts between files or problems or bugs or anything like that. And with that being said, without the conflicts, it's just less load. You don't need a plugin to do something as simple as what I'm going to show you. Everything else will work just the same, so your mods, photos, messages of the day, and photo gallery, they'll all work like normal. If you're like me and you tried disabling the message of the day and all that good stuff and it didn't work, this will probably fix all those issues for you. So all those things will still load and work perfectly fine. You can use this with mod managers. It won't change anything as far as that goes. Complete compatibility. So I've listed out the benefits here, and it's up to you what you use. I'm not trying to force it on you. I'm just putting a tutorial out to make it a little easier so you can understand how it works if you're kind of on the fence about it. So to get started, I'm going to run and show you how to install it and get it working, and then I'll go back and talk about some caveats that have come up. There's really only one issue that has come up that I can't really fix in the script, and it has to do with permissions on certain machines, and I'm not sure why it does it on those particular machines. And rather than try to diagnose their system and try to be tech support, especially for everybody that comes along that happens to have the same issue, it was easier for me to just come up with a solution that works regardless. So I'll show you and explain that. So what Modfix does is it creates a link between your documents location of Starfield, so between this data folder located in the Starfield location, to the main game install folder under the data area. So it basically links them together and acts as if they're the same location, which pretty much they are. So to get started, of course, you're going to need to download Modfix. If you have a virus scanner, you might need to do a scan on it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Download it, and for the sake of the video, I'm going to go ahead and download this optional because I'll be going over it too. So I'm going to download this optional. If you use OneDrive, I would highly suggest this, or if not, you can go to the post section, and Stickied is the manual solution to this, which is what I made the command file for, to make this easier as well. But I'll also show you how to do the manual version in this video, just in case you're interested. So once you download those files, we're going to go into our downloads, and you can click these directly, or you can just open downloads folder. So I'm going to open my two files here from my block list. I'm going to go ahead and put them on my desktop. I'll show you those later. So if you use OneDrive, again, you just need the block list and the command file for it. You can put those anywhere. It doesn't have to be in your game folder. And for Modfix, we're going to open it up, and we're going to open our main game folder, same place that you find Starfield exe. And of course, if you're on Game Pass or something similar to that, your path may be a little different, but as long as it's where Starfield exe is, you just drag this over into the same folder. and you can close that zip file. Now I recommend first, and you can do this however you want, you can do it before or after you run Modfix, but it's easier if you do it first just because it's less confusing. So before you run Modfix, open up your documents location. So documents, my games, Starfield. You're going to see your data folder in here where you have your mods, texture mods or whatever mods you have. And of course in mine I've just got, you know, the video folder and the Starfield script extender plugins, and really I only have one plugin. It's an ASI loader to load my bridge for DLSS. So all you're going to do is either drag and drop over here in an empty space inside the main folder of Starfield, or you can right click cut and right click paste and move your mods over. That's all you're going to do. You're done as far as that goes. Just move them over. If you get prompted to overwrite files, just double check that your files that you're moving are going to be the same, or the versions of the files that you want to use, because this is going to overwrite anything you tried to install in the main game folder that maybe didn't work. So once you do that, you're going to run Modfix just by double clicking. It's going to tell you it's created a junction, the version, and if you didn't have a Starfield custom INI already, it's going to create one for you with the default info in it. If you already have a Starfield custom, don't worry, it's not going to overwrite it. It does check if it exists, and it only makes that file if it doesn't exist, so you won't lose any of your settings. And of course it doesn't touch preferences. Once you're done there, you can go ahead and exit. Of course it shows your game path here and the docs path that it determined to be what it needs to work. So we can go ahead and close that. As far as that goes, you're done. I mean, you can start installing mods now just to this main data folder inside where the game is installed at. You don't have to go back to the documents again until you've deleted this link, or you've reinstalled your OS or something like that. This will basically show the same info here. If I double click this data link, it's going to now look like the same folder. It might say something different here, but it's actually pointing right here. So if I take the textures and not drag over everything, if I take the textures out and refresh this, you'll see that the textures disappear. If I put them back in the main game folder, refresh, you'll see they reappear. So that's all we're doing, is forcing the game to load it from the main game folder rather than documents, which is going to simplify everything. It also resolves a bunch of issues. So like inside the textures folder, you'll have your photos. You're going to have the message of the day, which I'm going to go ahead and delete that right now. I'll show you that later. Show you that it's working, because it'll recreate that when I load the game up. That's pretty much it as far as how Modfix works and how to install it. Now a couple caveats is certain machines for some reason have some odd permissions, and what I mean by that is I've run into a couple players who, for whatever reason, it just would not allow a junction to be made, even if it was run as admin. I don't know why, and rather than be in tech support and trying to figure that out, I come up with a solution, and that was Symlink. I know some have asked me already, why am I creating, one or the other, or why not just use, this one? And that was the reason I initially released my first versions with just a Symlink, was because of that issue. I had run into that issue on another computer, a friend of mine, and rather than try to figure out why his computer was doing weird stuff, I just tried out the Symlink instead, and it worked. So I assumed, well, I'll just do Symlink for everybody. The only problem with that is it requires you to run as admin. Some people are kind of sketchy about that, and I get it. There's nothing bad about this command file. It's not nefarious or nothing bad in it. I mean, it does absolutely nothing. The worst thing that's in it is a delete command that deletes a temp file that we create. The mod itself, or Modfix itself, creates and deletes that temporary file, and it's just reading data to determine if it's, you know, got the link created already and so on, and also pathing stuff. So if you happen to be one of the ones that runs into that issue, what'll happen is you can either try to run Modfix and it'll pop up the screen and kind of flash and go away. It may not show up at all, and you'll notice that in your documents location over here you might still have data, the normal data folder anyway, showing there, and your textures or whatever you have in there will still be there, so it'll still look the same, like nothing was ever changed. So what you can do is you have two options. You can run it as admin and see if it works, so we'll go ahead and run that, and in my case of course it worked, and it's going to tell you that it created a symbolic link instead because we ran it as admin. I can go ahead and exit, and you'll see that my link is made, but my data folder was renamed. So in that case you're going to have to go into this backup data folder with the timestamp on it, drag all your files, so select all with Control A or either by dragging the mouse, and you can drag them straight over to the data folder, or you can just right click cut and paste them into the data folder just like that, and that would basically do the same thing. The other option is, I gotta delete that link first. The other option is, before you run Modfix again, if you run into that issue, is go ahead and manually rename it. So a lot of the issue is it's just having trouble renaming the folder because of a permission issue. So manually rename it, go back and run this as admin again, and of course this time it's not going to make a backup folder because we already renamed it, but it'll create that same symbolic link, which is going to work exactly the same as a junction. And then you'll go in here, do the same thing, move your data over. So you're going to move the file inside, or the files and folders inside your data backup into your data folder of your game, and that solves the same problem. The difference between junction and symbolic link, without getting technical and all that, is the two main things about the differences is junction can be run without admin rights, whereas symbolic link can't. So you have to run as admin in order to create a symbolic link. And the reason for that, or the main reason for that, is junctions can only be used to link local stuff. So if you have the same hard drive or multiple hard drives in your system, you can make links from one file or folder to the other, say another drive like an E drive or D drive or something like that, locally with no problem. If you wanted to create a network link, so a folder on your desktop you wanted to link to a folder on another computer that's got data on it, like say on your same network, through your router and all that good stuff, you would have to create a symbolic link. So symbolic links support network locations. That's the main two differences. But how they work for our purpose, it's like identical in pretty much every way. So don't worry about too much about, do I need one or the other. It doesn't really matter. If junction works fine for you, just use it. You're not going to get any benefit from one or the other. So with that being said, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the only issue I can think of that you'll run into as far as getting it installed. You may have to rename your data folder manually. You may have to run as admin. But that's how to fix that. It's fairly straightforward. If you have any more problems with that, just shoot me a private message on the Nexus website. I'll try to, help you out the best I can. Moving on. So once we have our stuff moved over, we're done there. We don't need anything there. We can actually delete the Modfix, and all of our stuff is now going to be set over here to our main game folder. So the only time you'd need to come into your documents area is to do custom run commands, or edit your preferences manually if you wanted to tweak some stuff or anything like that, or you wanted to add stuff to your custom INI. I backed up my custom stuff here, and I put defaults here just so I could show you this stuff. That way I can make sure, other than the script extender, I could show you that I was running everything from a base kind of clean install with nothing any different than what you'd encounter. So So we're done in the documents. We can go ahead and close it, and I'll open it back up in a few, and I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to show you the block list. So if you use OneDrive, by default the documents folder gets backed up to cloud. So you've got your pictures even getting backed up, your documents folder, and so on. That being said, when you do this fix, the one drawback to it is it's going to create a link in your documents location for the game that's going to cause it to include the main data folder right here as a backup option for OneDrive. So that means that all these huge 4 gig files are going to immediately start uploading to OneDrive, to the cloud. It's a waste of bandwidth, and if you have data caps, that could be an issue. So if you're worried about that, we have a fix for that, and it's fairly straightforward. So all you need to do is run this block list, and you'll have to run it as admin. I just ran it normal. Right click to run as administrator. It's required simply because we're doing registry edits. So you can right click and run as admin, or it'll tell you that you need to rerun it. So we'll hit 1, rerun, and go ahead and let it do its thing. So if we open the registry editor, you can see here I've got those keys created, and by default you probably won't have these keys. You might have to manually go to Microsoft, create a new key, OneDrive, and right click on OneDrive, create a new key, and put this ignore list in there. Then over here you can manually add string values numbered. So we already have 8, we're going to do 9, and we can do wildcard.jpg, so JPG, and there's a little caveat to that I'll get to in a moment, but that's how you basically would add an extension manually. You just go to this location here, or create these 2 keys if they don't exist by just going to this portion, right click, create the OneDrive key, and then right click OneDrive and create this key, and then just add string values numbered from 1 to whatever. I'm going to delete that for now, and we'll talk about the caveat to some of these. So the block list consists of default game files that you're going to find. So your packaged archives, your ESNs that contain all the main game data and quest dialogues and so on. Your Bink videos for the game, Swift files for, there are Flash files really for interface, and plug-in files like your script extender and so on, and your textures of course. That being said, because the way OneDrive works and starts adding those files to upload to your cloud, in order to block them we have to create a filter, which is what this section in the registry key does. It tells OneDrive this is a local policy to not back up these files. So with that being said, if you add, say, you can add custom ones in here if you like. So JPG, how about ping files? I wouldn't recommend adding stuff like that, especially if you have pictures in your pictures folder, because this change to OneDrive is global, meaning it's not going to just affect what it gathers from the data folder. It's going to make it ignore these from your pictures folder as well. So any extension you add, you have to be real mindful of what it is or what type of file it is, because it'll block it from all of OneDrive, wherever OneDrive is backing up files. So if you have custom folders in OneDrive being backed up, keep that in mind. I would stick with just your standard game files like these BA2s and so on. So yeah, again, you add JPEG to that or ping, that means in your pictures folder, if you have any of those file types in there, they're not going to get backed up any longer. But anyhow, once you've added those to the registry using the block list, just like so, and so you can add them multiple times and it's not going to matter. If we go check the registry, there's still going to be the same number of them. It just overwrites them. So, and if you want to delete one, you can just delete it just like that. Hit the delete key, gone. After you make those changes, go ahead and restart your PC, because OneDrive, unless you shut it down completely, will not load that new policy. The easiest way is to restart your PC. The other option is you'd have to close OneDrive, exit it, stop the service for it, make sure in Task Manager it's not running anywhere, then start it back up again for it to load that new policy. So keep that in mind. Reboot the PC after you add the block list. If you're installing this and you use OneDrive and you want to make sure that those files don't start uploading, install the block list and reboot your PC first. Then you won't have to reboot again. You can install Modfix and go from there. So now I'm going to show you the game itself, and before I start the game, I'm going to go ahead and use Vortex to show you that it does work with Mod Manager. And I'm going to load up the Vortex here, and I've never really had any problems with Vortex. I've got like Fallout 4, I've got 148 mods in there, and my game has run stable. I haven't had a single crash. Before I uninstalled it, I had probably 250 or so mods in Skyrim and SE. Never had a problem. It's all really about knowing how to use Vortex, because Vortex is not as, I don't know about the word user friendly. I wouldn't necessarily say Vortex is better than, or Mod Organizer is better than. It's more about how they function and some little caveats with them. Vortex can be a little harder to get the mods right in it, but I mean, for the most part it does a great job. And like I said, I haven't had any problems, but I use it exclusively now because it just works for me. So, but you use whatever you like. Mod Organizer, if you're following along with this, then you know, you can use that too. For the demonstration though, I'm going to just use Vortex. So I'm going to go ahead and go to up here. I'm going to type in Star UI, because I just now tried it earlier. I did this video earlier, and for some reason my mic was muted. So yeah, I've got to redo this, even though I just downloaded this for the first time today. So I'm going to go to Files, Mod Manager Download, and Vortex is going to pick it up and install. I'm just going to leave defaults for now. Hit Finish, and we're good to go. Close that out. I can close this window out, and you'll see that I now have my interface folder in here with Managed by Vortex and all the files for Star UI. So now, with that being said, I'm going to go into Textures. You can see I don't have my message of the day still. And in my Documents location, my game, Starfield, you'll notice that I still don't have a normal data folder. Everything looks like it was when we created the Modfix. So I'm just going to close that. And we'll go ahead and start Starfield with the script extender. And because I put default files back in my folder, my intro is not disabled again, unfortunately. So as you can see, message of the day is working, photo gallery working, and exit back out of there, and we'll go to continue, and we'll see if Star UI is loaded. Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, I need to offload that stuff back on my ship. But other than that, as you can see, it works. I unloaded my cargo in my ship onto my player here, and it's killing me. So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. I like what he's doing with this Star UI. Oops. Oop. Yeah, I don't want that. Alright. So as you can see, that works, and if we go back to our folder here, you'll see that message of the day was recreated, except in the main game folder this time. So yeah, it all loads up and works as normal. No issues, no conflicts, no problems. You just install your mods to this data location, and that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Any problems, shoot me a private message on the Nexus website. I'll try to help you if I can, and enjoy.